Hi there, it is cold today in Northwest Indiana. My thermometer is showing 0, and when I woke up this morning it was showing more like 5 below, 8 below, so it's really cold. And we're going to talk a little bit about how to help your chickens through cold. They can handle it. It's not the end of the world. We've had it get down to like 20 below here, and we had a super cold winter a few years ago, and it just kept getting colder and colder, and the chickens really adapted quite well. They did well way below 0, but you do have to take some precautions and some things to help them through. So let's look at some of the things I do. One of my favorite things to do is give them special treats, because when they get cramped up inside, boredom is a real concern. And one of my favorite things as a supplement is Nutri-Drench. I love using Nutri-Drench with like little chicks, just to give them a little boost in crazy weather. But one of the snacks I like to give them, this actually has some leftover strawberries too, and it's got some corn from our Christmas dinner, but there are scrambled eggs in here. And scrambled eggs are a great treat for them. It's a boost. It's got that protein. It's just a nice thing to give them. And I'll also give them some chicken scratch to throw around to keep them occupied. But I will mix a little of that Nutri-Drench in with the eggs or the snacks that I'm giving them to just kind of give them a little boost. One thing I have done in the past, which does not work well, is giving them oatmeal. And it was a super cold morning, and I'd heard oatmeal is so wonderful, and I gave it to those chickens, and even the hens got frostbitten wattles from it because it was sticking to their wattles. So definitely when you're thinking about treats to give them, do not give them anything really, really wet that's going to stick to them, because that is going to be like frostbite in a minute. If you have any hens that are more vulnerable to the cold, such as this one that decided molting would be a good idea in late December, she is missing tons of her feathers. She just looks pretty mangy, and it is way too cold for her out there. So one thing I do is I keep some crates set up in the garage where it's still cold out here, but it's not as brutal. So I keep these crates set up, and I can bring the more vulnerable chickens in if they start having problems, kind of like a warming station. And then I can give her some just special food, some better food that she may not get out in the middle of the flock. So have some cages ready, because it's a lot easier to just bring them in when you need to than having it be evening, see that someone's having a problem, and trying to set up cages and mess around with it. So I just have them ready to go. I'm going to film this from the less brutal garage before we go outside, but that is my little coop deal out there. And to the right, I have a small lean-to addition, and it has its little pellet fence off to give those chickens a run. And then I have my main little coop there in the middle, and off to the left is their enclosed run that's wrapped in plastic, so it's pretty protected from the wind. But one thing, especially my middle coop, is well insulated, and that coop stays 10 degrees warmer than what it is outside. So I'm going to leave them in today just to conserve heat. It seems like I'd rather be in 8 degrees than 2 below or whatever. So I'm going to leave them in there. And again, boredom is a thing, so I'm going to take their food out. But if you can leave your chickens in when it's really cold, that's obviously better for them. If you can leave the boredom and they have enough room, which is why coop space becomes very important, because if you have them all cramped in there, you can't do this without having some problems happen. So, okay, I don't know if you can see this, but we're out in the coop now, so we're looking at actually about 8 degrees, so it's just about 10 degrees warmer in here. I'm coming out. Some of my chickens do better in the cold than others, but it's still cold. Especially for us. We've been used to about 30 degrees here. This is a really cold snap for us. So I like to come out at least a few times a day and check on them, see how they're doing. This little girl right here is another pathetic one. And I had her in the garage as well. She's trying to molt now. But she was pecking the other one, so I brought her back out because she looks better. But as I see on this roost, on her belly, she has got all kinds of new feathers coming in. So she's definitely tail feather. She is definitely molting and should not be out here. So I'll need to set up a cage for her. As far as water goes, I have heated waterers. I know there are other ways to do it, but there's not any other way I would do this. It works wonderfully. And even when it gets down to about 0, I've noticed that my heated waterers don't keep up as well, but they still do pretty well. So It's important to check their water, make sure they have water, have some insulated rubber gloves of some sort or your fingers will freeze off. But really all they need is they need some fresh water, and of course they need food. They need to be out of drafts, which these guys are. We put some wood up. It keeps them fairly draft free in here. Frostbite is always a concern, and I've tried and tried. I don't know if it's just the climate where we're out by Lake Michigan or what the problem is, but we still struggle with frostbite every year with big combs. But nothing terrible as long as we keep up on it and don't let them get wet. So watch for your frostbite. Keep drafts out. Do chickens need a heater? I've heard so many different things about this, but I don't like the concern of fire. I don't know how well it works anyways. And my understanding is a healthy, well-feathered out chicken can handle this. And I have found that mine do. I'm sure it's not the most comfortable situation for them, but they can handle it. And chickens do lay eggs in the winter. And when it's this cold, you have to remember those eggs are going to actually freeze and break fairly quickly. So another thing that you want to do, really loud in here, is to make sure that you're getting those eggs collected regularly throughout the day, like every hour or so. When it gets like this cold, down to 0 and below, or they're going to break and you're not going to have eggs. So keep that in mind as well. A water tip that I've heard, and I'm not completely against, and I will do this if I'm going away and it's we have snow, is that chickens can eat snow for water. I don't know how well that works. It seems like it would be very cold to me, but if you've got some snow and you're going to be leaving for the day, I will fill up a bowl and put that snow in the coop as well and let them kind of eat that. So I hope this helps you out. I don't know if you're in a really cold area, but I'll tell you, if you're in Florida, I see people ask, it's going to get down to 50 tonight. Will my chickens be okay? Yes, your chickens will be fine. And I know people in Alaska that keep chickens. So you just need to take precautions where you're at. But chickens can do just fine in cold weather with just a few little precautions and extra care. Thanks so much for watching. Please subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any of our videos.